You pass them. I got more on my desk. I only brought a handful out. Kind of, if you weren't here, if you were, kind of give you a reminder. So you get these passed out. Whatever you have, just put the rest of that. All right, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out, and happy Valentine's Day to everyone. So, got a few little things on your way out. My wife made some cupcakes, so we'll pass them out on the way out. So when you're leaving, make sure you get a cupcake. And then for all the ladies, hopefully I have enough. Right now I do. I got you some candy. So candy from the mayor. So kind of said, bring your sweetheart out to meet the mayor on Valentine's Day. So what Trustee Poskin passed out for the ones coming in, and we want to make sure everyone knows are on the back table, is we took the questions that were asked at the last meeting, tried to put answers to them. Mess up probably all morning. So, but again, we kind of want to keep this informal. Again, questions that residents may have. We want to make sure that this kind of like it's not a village board meeting. It's informal. You can come out, ask questions you have. Allow us to know each other. Try to make sure that I'm available. For people that don't know, I started a new job. So something closer to home, but I figure about the first month is going to be my learning period time, and it's going to take a little bit more of my time, but I like it so far. I've been on this job for 2 weeks already, and I'm based out of Elmhurst, so it's a lot closer to home. It's probably about half the driving distance. It's not like I'm going up to Wisconsin, so I get to spend a little more time with my wife. She kind of come in the doors a little bit early at night. She's wondering why. The first couple of nights she was way home. So, and I put it on my Facebook page. I also put it out on my LinkedIn, so I don't know if anyone saw that.
You think she's happy for that?
I think she's happy about the pay. But it was a promotion. I tell everyone it's kind of like deja vu. 5 years ago I started my previous job. I was sitting in China one night working on stuff. And I get a call and said, here's a job offer. And I said, send me the job description, I'll send you my resume. When you're sitting in China, especially late at night, you get pretty, it starts to wear on you. And last November, like deja vu, I was sitting in China in a hotel room working on stuff so I could get everything out to my boss before he came in to work. When you're looking at 13, 14 hours difference. I'm working at night, it's daytime here. But I got a call sitting in a hotel room like deja vu and said, hey, we've got a job offer for you. And I said, send me the job description. Here we are. My last day of work was January 30th at my own job, my new job. I started on February 2nd. So I had a 2-day break over the weekend. But again, I like it. And again, the driving is unbelievable. It's like before, it's like you're driving. This when I get there, I feel like I should be driving for another hour and a half. But that's enough about me. Do me a favor, grab that box of candy from right there. I got enough right now for the ladies. And what did you do with those cupcakes? Okay, I'll tell you what we want to do is, my wife made cupcakes for everyone. So before you leave, make sure you get a cupcake. And then do me a favor. Ladies, sorry guys, I'm passing this only out to the ladies. But for all the ladies here, I got you a little box of candy. So if you would do me a favor, pass it out to all of us.
Thank you.
So I'd like to thank you for coming out and braving the weather. So we'll go ahead and open this up. And we'll see here. Does anyone have any questions? The process is pretty easy. I'll tell you, as you think about if you have any questions, let's go through some of the things that may be on people's minds. We know that the new governor was just elected, and one of the things the new governor did was he put on hold all the spending that the former governor had did over the last few months when he was in office. And I've had a lot of people ask me, how does that affect Sauk Village? Well, we all know that the last governor, before leaving office, he gave us a $4.8 million grant to pay for our water. He gave us, I refresh my memory here real quick, $205,000 for Arrow Park. What's that? Arrowhead, thank you, for Arrowhead. And there were some other things that passed through the state Senate and through Congress. Those funds we won't be affected. They were already passed, and that was $75,000 for infrastructure, $25,000 for fire hydrants, I was these numbers, it's about $125,000, $135,000 again for additional infrastructure. That has already been passed. That went through a bill that was already signed. So those funds will not be affected. It may slow down the process of getting those monies. Okay, and I'll tell you why. It's because when the new governor came in, he went off and from directors to assistant directors to probably even some of the department heads underneath those directors, he laid them off. It's, one of his first things he did. Now, those people still had the right to come back and apply for those jobs, but the new governor, as anything, if you're a governor, if you're a mayor, if you're president of the United States, you come in, you have the right to fill those positions. So, right now, a lot of things are kind of in limbo, waiting for those positions to be filled again. And pretty much like everything else, filling positions, a lot of it has to be with the approval. If, as a mayor, my appointments have to be with the approval and consent of the village board. There's no difference in Springfield. There's some things that have to be, with the approval and consent by the Senate and the House. Some things the governor has the right to let you fill, just like when we, as a mayor, you fill committee, department heads, things like that. The mayor can do that without the consent approval. But we kind of make it a courtesy to make sure that the village board knows what's going on. Now, when it comes to the last things that the governor gave us, the $4.8 million and the $205,000, those are on hold right now. Those are on hold so the governor can review, the new governor, Governor Raumer, can review what was given to Sauk Village. We currently have our state reps. We have 3 state representatives. We have Thaddeus Jones. We have L.G. Sims, and we have Marcus Evans. We also have 2 senators that represent Sauk Village, and that's Senator Trotter and Senator Harris. We have contacted all of our state representatives and asked for their help for getting these funds. We have also reached out to our lobbyist, which is in Springfield, and they are approaching the governor's office, also finding out what the status is on those, and see if we can get those reviewed, as soon as possible. So that's where we're at on there. I know there's a lot of talk that we've lost the money, we're not going to get it. We're still working with the governor's office. And, if it's up to me, I would love to have the governor come back out here, just like we had the last governor, and give a speech to people and say, we are going to go ahead and give you that money. And if we can do anything to do that, we will. Again, I know the governor's schedule is pretty full, but the main thing is getting that money for Sauk Village because it's important for the residents. So I know that's one thing that's on the minds of the residents. How about any questions here before I go on? Yes?
This last meeting where this person was running around pointing these cameras and things like that and disturbing everybody, what can we do to, I know the camera back here is okay, but when you're running up putting it in individually people's face, what can we do to stop that and slow it down and just don't have it anymore here in this hall? Because it's very disturbing to see something like that. You almost got into a fight with a person.
You're right. I did notice it, and I have to be honest with you. I'm dealing with a room of adults, and when you see people doing that, you think you're dealing with grade schoolers. When you're sitting up here trying to run a meeting, you got trustees trying to vote on stuff. It's very hard to keep a straight face. I have to be honest with you. So. One thing we're going to start doing is, and again, I hate having to tell grown adults what to do, but if it gets to a point where we have to bring something to the board and say, that if there's going to be filming or stuff, it's going to have to be in the back of the room. There'll be no more running around. And here we are, we're in election season. Everyone knows every 2 years we face the same thing, right? Every 2 years you see people that you've never seen for 2 years come to board meetings. They try to disturb the meeting so that they go out and tell people that we don't have a meeting that's running in order, and decorum is not being kept. You've got people that are, especially those running, coming and making statements that they have no idea what they're talking about. And I'll be honest with you, if they're ever elected, they've got a rude awakening. But again, I think the important thing is trying to keep order and decorum, and that's my responsibility. Okay, and I guess I probably could have done a better job, and I didn't see it getting way out of hand. I did see a person running around with a camera, phone, you know, things like that. I didn't see people really getting upset about it, but I will keep a closer eye on it, and it is my responsibility as mayor to keep order and decorum. So I will do a better job in keeping an eye on it. Yes.
Can you tell us about economic development that you just talked about?
Economic development, it's, there's some things in the works. I just can't tell too much right now. I can say that right now I'm currently working on 2 projects for economic development. But both of them are, we had to sign a letter of non-disclosure. So I can't talk about it. See, some things I can talk about. I met with Dunkin' Donuts, the owners. Dunkin' Donuts is feeling a real crunch right now because, as everyone knows, over in Dyer, they put Dunkin' Donuts in their VPs, both the VPs that enter into Sauk Village. So they're feeling the crunch. They're looking to move somewhere else here in Sauk Village. So we are working with them on sites to keep them in Sauk Village. You know, we should know something probably within the next couple of months with them. We also have 2 other projects I can't talk about because of non-disclosures. But we are working with businesses. And I'll be honest with you, Sauk Village has took a total turnaround when it comes to the business community. About 2.5, 3 years ago, businesses didn't want to come to Sauk Village. You know, they would have someone come and sit in a board meeting and see there was no order, no decorum. They saw the board was totally fighting. It was something they did not want to do. Sauk Village has a new name. You know, that's a community that's willing to work with you, and that's what we've done with our businesses. We've been down in Springfield. I've been down in Springfield about the end of last year into this year. I've already been in Springfield 3 times. 3 times we've been down to Springfield. So I was supposed to be in Springfield on Tuesday, but that has gotten delayed. And the reason is the governor's coming out with his new plan for the budget for this next year. We want to find out exactly how it's going to affect our community. He's not coming out with his new plan until Wednesday, which is the 18th. We were planning on being down there the 17th, but his schedule got pushed out. So as soon as we find out exactly what the governor's going to do, he's talking about a lot of cuts to municipalities. We were planning on having a budget for the village board by the end of February. We're probably going to push that out to March because we have to know exactly what the governor plans on doing and how his changes are going to affect our community. There's funds that we get through state. We want to find out if we're going to lose any of those funds. Is he going to decrease those funds? Again, a lot of that has to do with figuring in our projected revenue coming into Sauk Village. So once we see what the budget, what the new governor plans on doing, and how what he's going to do is going to affect our communities, we'll be coming to the village board. So it looks like probably in March we'll be coming to the village board with the budget. Let's talk a little bit about the budget. This year's budget, as for the last 2 years, is going to be another tight budget. You know, if you look at your reports on the questions and stuff, questions and answers, if you go to your 3rd page, there's a graph there. We have worked very hard to reduce our debt and our deficit in Sauk Village. Now, if you look at these numbers, and these come from our independent auditor. They don't come from me, they don't come from Mohan. They come right out of reports from the independent auditor. In 2008, Sauk Village had a little over $3 million deficit. In 2009, it jumped over $10 million. Now, we all know what happened in 2009. We had a change of administration. Okay. In 2010, it jumped up to over 18 million. In fact, it was closer to 21 million in 2010. But if you remember, 2010, the board started making changes because they knew what was happening. Okay. 2010, we also saw a lot of litigation. We saw, you remember 2010, the board removed the police chief. 2010, the board removed the chief of staff. Again, these are all the costs to the village and to its residents. 2011, we dropped down to about 16 million. 2012, we jumped back up to 12 million. Now, again, 2012 came in on the board as acting mayor at the end of 2012. You know, one thing we worked on hard on ending litigation, making some changes, so there was a little bump there. You know, we had litigation that was going on for quite a few years. And again, we're still seeing litigation that goes all the way back to 2009, 2010. Now, when you look at 2013, we dropped in our deficit down to just under 16 million. 2014, the audit just came out. We dropped again down to just over 15 million. We will continue in looking at our budgets to continue to reduce our debt and our deficit. That is the goal. Now, is it easy? No, it's not. Because while we're doing that, we're going to continue to try to reduce our debt without making any, or without jeopardizing any of the programs and stuff that we have for those residents. That's what's important. I know there's people out there saying, oh, we got to let people off, Well, we're looking very closely at what we need to do and what we have to do. And continue to reduce that debt, that's what's important. So, again, budget talks probably won't be until March, until we see exactly what the government plans on doing. Steve?
Could you talk more about the budget allocation process? Because some of your critics think that there's all kinds of money to throw around. And I think that there is a process by which you say, okay, this is how much money we have and this is how much money gets spread out. So, you know, tell everybody how that works.
It's a great question. In fact, one of the questions was, you'll see in here, how much surplus does Sauk Village have? Well, Sauk Village never has had a surplus. Our budgets are figured off based off of projected revenues coming into Sauk Village, and that's how much money we plan on spending. Now, when you look at the budget process, we look at state revenues, we look at grants, we look at fines, fees, things like that. You know, the water department look at how much water bills and things like that you estimate is going to come in. So, you know, last year I think we estimated a certain amount, we spent a certain amount over that amount. That's because we were paying off previous amounts. You know, we got more in and we spent more. So that's the goal, is to pay off previous debt. So, you know, when you look at the budget, there's no money sitting in it. We don't have, you know, $15 million sitting in a bank account. We don't. We've got a bank account that may have $1,000 in it. Okay? We pay our bills. That's how we pay our bills. As our revenue comes in, we pay our bills. Now, when you look at it, there's not a steady amount of revenue coming in every month. You get your real estate taxes. They come in what, November and March or something like that. I can't remember the dates off the top of my head. We get those large chunks of money. What we do is we take those revenues and we make the payments that we need to make. Okay, so, you know, in between November and March, you're going to see those bills start to increase because we don't have the revenue coming in. Well, when our real estate taxes come in, we pay all that off. When you look at your budget, you estimate you're bringing in a certain amount of money, and that's how much money we're going to try to make sure that we spend or stay under. You know, we talked about, and one of the things that's been brought up about the budget, or over budget. Well, the thing looking at a budget, you know, and it's funny because you go to your government, you go to your federal government, you go to your state government, they'll tell you all the same thing. And I always forget this saying, how it's worded, but seeing the trees through the forest or seeing the forest through the trees. You know, we're over budget on certain line items, yes we are. But then again, you look at those line items we're over budget on. We're over budget on personnel, definitely. And there's reasons for that. You know, our police department got hit this last year. We've had, what, 2 deaths between our dispatchers and our police officer. We lost a police officer, we lost a dispatcher. We've had individuals quit, getting other jobs, moving on. So, you know, your salaries are going to increase, especially when you look at overtime. But what you do is, when you do a budget, you figure, okay, we have so much so many employees, they make a certain amount of money, and that's how much it should be. The other thing too is, we didn't just until this last year resolve contracts that went all the way back to 2011, 2012, because the previous administration wouldn't negotiate the contracts with the unions. So what ended up happening is, we figured a budget on what they're making. We get into the budget year, we resolved all these contracts, we had to give them their raises, which was not part of the budget, and we had to give them all their back pay. That's hard when you're looking at a budget to figure out what their final negotiations are going to be. I've got some trustees that say, give them a 0% raise. Well, I agree. As a village, we probably should say we don't have the money. But when you sit before an arbitrator, and when you sit before a mediator, they're saying it's unacceptable. Because all these other communities are giving this percentage of a raise. They're giving, a lot of communities are giving 3% raises. And that's difficult. So when you sit down and we say, okay, we'll give you, I don't have it from me, I think we give them a 2.5%, 3% raise over 4 years, 5 years, something like that. In fact, we increased the amount of years because we were going to end this contract and we had to go right back into another contract because it was sitting out there for so long. So we were able to increase a year. We spread out their raises. And what we had to do was give them all their back pay for all those years they worked previous. For those raises they got, we had to give them the back pay, and then we had to bring their pay back up. So think about it. 2% for this year, 2.5%, 2.5%, 3%. You add that up, that increases. So, as a village, when you look at the budget right now, we're doing pretty good. If you look at the overall budget, that's what's important. Look at the overall bottom number. Again, our police department not only getting hit hard, we've had some shootings and some major issues this last year when it came to crime. But you think about back last year, in January, I started warning residents what was going to happen. Go back and think about, we came before the village residents and said, we've been sitting in meetings with mayors across the state of Illinois, as myself. The police chief has been sitting in meetings with police chiefs throughout the state of Illinois, talking about how that last winter was going to affect the crime in our communities. So, knowing that the crime was going to happen, we proactively started to address these issues. Now, we still have crime, we still have shootings, yes, we did. But there's a lot of things that were stopped. The other thing, too, is the reason why we were able to go out there and get those criminals, the ones that did those crimes so quickly, is because we were working with other police departments and working with other agencies. Think about this. One person that shot someone, I think it was over on Peterson. He was found in a basement in Chicago. The person who was shot, the person over in the strip mall, where was he found? Georgia? Down south somewhere. Things like that doesn't happen if you're not prepared. So we were preparing for an even worse year. Did we want to see what happened? No. And it was terrible that it happened here in Sauk Village. But we have our police chief was working hard, our police officers working with other agencies, and I'm sure there's things that they can't tell you, but there's a lot of things that were stopped that did not happen because they were working with Chicago Heights, they were working with Fort Heights, they were working with Stager, they were working with Crete, they were working with the city of Chicago. And as things hit the street saying that this gang was going to do this, or they were hearing things that happened, it was going to happen. Think about New York, 2 officers that were killed. What did they come back and say? They said they knew that something was going to happen because this guy was posting on his Facebook about how he was going to make pigs fly. So things are being watched, things are working together behind the scenes. And it's hard to stop everything. That's why it's important to make sure your residents are involved. You see something in your neighborhood, call the police. You may not see them come to your house. You may not see them even go down your block. But they could be 2 or 3 blocks over, going after the individuals that you just called about and you don't even know about it. So, get involved. Did that answer your question, Stephen? All right. I know I kind of...
Well, I already knew the answer, I just wanted to say.
Matt, do me a favor, the new ladies that walked in, get them, for the people that just walked in, my wife made cupcakes. We'll have those outside. We don't want to inside here, so before you leave, make sure you grab a cupcake. We'll have those out back. And ladies, I got you a box of candy for Valentine's Day. So if you've come in, you haven't got your box of candy, please make sure you get those. And again, happy Valentine's Day. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out again on this wintry day.
What does it cost when someone puts a FOIA in?
The cost ranges. Again, depending on the FOIA, an easy FOIA, probably about as low as about $1,000. Some of the other FOIAs can exceed probably $5,000 or more. Again, a lot depending on how much we have to get our attorneys involved. It depends on the amount of time, the amount of paperwork, the amount of research. So they can get pretty expensive. But again, it's something that as a community that we have to do. That's why we try to make sure we get as much information out there as possible. We're providing more information than any other municipality or any other administration has in the past. We try to make sure that we get the information. Now, one thing we're looking at, and we're not the white community, is Springfield just got done passing a new FOIA bill. And we're waiting to see if it gets challenged or not. But the new bill, and I started receiving information we're looking at a little more, is that any information that we have on our websites, or we have those as residents, is good enough for the FOIA request. So you take a look at if someone files a FOIA, which we want to start doing is getting the information out there, put it on a FOIA page. If we ever get FOIA again for the same information, they can say look at the website. It saves us money, and it saves us the time where our employees can be doing other things. If someone FOIAs us for something that we already have out there, we can say go to our website. So again, we're looking at the bill, we're looking at it more closely to find out, we want to make sure that we follow it correctly, and that we're doing exactly what we're supposed to do. And again, I think like with anything, a small community, we're waiting to see if it gets challenged. Because there's no sense on doing a lot of work if something will get challenged. But again, with it coming through Springfield, it passed both the House, the Senate, and has already been signed by the governor.
But, so getting right back to Steve's question, there's no way for you to put $2,000 over here, and knowing that you're going to get 50 FOIA, so you have to pay for that out of $2,000, right? So that's when people say, well, we got budget here, but you have to be looking at what you're looking at. Well, just like you're saying right now, if you plan for something, there's no way to say how many FOIA is going to come in this next year. So when people have to look at it, when your job is to say, well, I'm going to try to get money to pay the police officer. But all at once, here comes 50,000 FOIA for no good reason at all, and you have to pay $1,000 for each one of them. You have to subtract that from that thing.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. People are, I've heard people say, well, when you plan a budget, you should plan for the worst case scenario. I'll tell you what, I think we're all sitting in here, pretty much a lot of us are blue-collar workers, I would say. When you plan your budget for that next year, as much as you'd like to, I don't think you're putting too much money aside in case your furnace goes out, your hot water heater, your dishwasher, and, and your electric panel all at the same time, do you? Again, especially as residents, we make those tough changes. And, if we have a furnace that goes out, we make some cuts here and there, right? We don't have an extra $5,000 or $10,000 sitting aside to replace our furnace. And if you do, I'd like to meet you. When you look at a budget, you're looking at, we have number one, when it comes to salaries, we have so many employees, they make a certain amount of money. This next budget is going to be a little bit easier because we don't have another union contract until into next year. Okay, so I think it's this next year. But the thing is, it's pretty easy planning your budget because we already know what the employees are going to make. Okay, finding out exactly what the governor is going to cut, if he's going to cut anything, that's what's important. That's why we're holding off another month to find out what exactly he's going to do. And who's been watching everything the governor's been doing? I tell you what, the governor's been doing a lot. you know, if we agree, if we don't agree. I mean, this guy came in and started making, you know, I think he called them executive orders immediately. You know, I've heard everything from he can't do that to he can do it. You know, I think that's something that we're going to see. Some things probably get challenged in court. But, you know, stopping the governor coming in, putting executive order, stopping all the funding that the previous governor did, going all the way back to November last year. You know, you think about, you know, some of the things he's doing with the unions and the non-union employees. It's unbelievable. Well, he just passed what this last week before, non-union employees no longer have to pay union dues, or it's not called union dues, it's called something else, I can't remember what it's called. But it's a payment that they make to the unions. And right down the line, everything that the new governor's doing, some of the things affect us, some of the things don't. Again, we're waiting until the 18th to see exactly what's going to affect us. Steve?
A lot of critics talk about the water issues, the infrastructure and whatnot, and the raised rates that we're paying and how that should be going directly into infrastructure. Do you think that's going to become an issue in the upcoming election?
I think water becomes an issue in every election. I don't think I've been in office since water hasn't become an issue. So, let's talk a little bit about water. You know, the raises. You know, I can't remember going back to what year it was $3.50 per thousand, and then it jumped up to $5.50 per thousand, and then it jumped up to $7.50 per thousand, and that was less. Well, let's go back a minute. It really jumped up to about almost $11 per thousand. Okay, and it wasn't until under, again, we'll look under this administration, that we said, you know what, we're not going to do that. You know, we already know the residents can't pay it, so we're going to do is we're going to drop it down to $7.50 per thousand. And that was based off a consultant that came in and looked at Sauk Village's water rates. First rate that went up to $5.50 per thousand brought the village back up to where it was supposed to be, just so we could make sure we could pay our employees. The water department was going into a deficit. General fund was having to pay for water employees. So the first raise going up to $5.50 made it so that we can make sure we can pay our bills. The next one was $7.50, which a lot of people are screaming about the additional $2. Was up the village when it came to all the new infrastructure that we're putting in, when it came to the air strippers, and it came to the new iron removal systems, and all the work that you see being done. That's what the additional $2 was for. Anything over and above the $7.50, which the village had it at like $10.85 or something, don't quote me on that number. That was for additional infrastructure to be put to the side. Those numbers have already been reduced, so the residents are not paying that. Okay. Do we still have air strippers? Yes, we do. Are we still having work done? Yes, we are. And will there be continued payments for those air strippers and for preventive maintenance and for chemicals and things like that going into our iron removal system? Yes, there will be. So when you hear that about residents should be getting paid $2 and that $2 should be put into another fund, well, you have to go back and pull those old ordinances and find out the money that should be put to the side has already been reduced and the residents are not paying it. The money that should be put to the side, if we were doing exactly what some of the people are screaming, the residents would be paying over $10 per thousand gallons. And then that money would be put to the side to do infrastructure. Now let's talk about infrastructure. There is a lot of infrastructure being done. You know, we did a leak detection survey right as soon as I came in office as acting mayor. We called for a leak detection survey. The leak detection survey came through and we started making repairs. We found 2 major leaks out in the field, just water spilling that no one knew. It took our public works department and the leak detection survey people to walk every single step of every single line in Sauk Village before we found those leaks. We got those leaks repaired. You know, you think about when it comes to water main breaks, we were averaging right around about 50 water main breaks a year. This last year, you know, we were in single digits for the longest time. We were at like 2 or 3 water main breaks. I think, of course, when winter hit us and the cold weather started changing, I think we're right around 10 or 11 because that number can change. You know, you think about going from 40 down to, you know, 10 or 11 water main breaks. That's because of the infrastructure repairs that we made. Came into office, we had, after Mr. Chief was here, we were like 17 or 19%, I think it was 17% of the fire hydrants in Sauk Village were not working. We're down to single digits. on that now. We've repaired, Sauk Village has over 500 500 fire hydrants. So you can figure the math, we're about 17% of them did not work. And we're down to about 9% now. You know, the goal is, and I've already talked to Kevin, I've talked to Jim, you know, I want that down again. Fire hydrants sometimes is you know, they break, people hit them, so you're constantly having a number, but I want to see that number down below 5%. I want to see it down to about 2%. So we're working hard. Kevin just reported on Tuesday night, they just got done repairing two more fire hydrants. So again, we're looking at the infrastructure, you know, all the work that's being done. There is work being done, there's being repairs. So again, a lot of things people don't see. You know, I don't have the boards up here like I did on the last meeting. Maybe I should stick them out here every so often and put them in the hallway so people have a reminder. You know, well number 3 was shut down in 2009, if I remember right. Here we are, 2014, it's up and running again. So, you know, well number 3 is up and running, brand new air strippers, brand new iron removal systems, just a brand new complete well. Wells number 1 and 2 are under construction, and the work on those are supposed to be done within the next month or two, and we'll have all 3 of the wells completed. That means all litigation in the state of Illinois with the Attorney General, with the IEPA, which they continue to have the right to take us back into court, but they're watching all the work that's being done. That will all be resolved. We will meet everything. Water quality, water quantity, those are the 2 major things that they were hitting us on. We work very closely with both the IEPA and the Attorney General's office. If they need anything, they want to see anything, they want additional testing, we're on it. Something that did not happen in the previous administration. I have to be honest with you, right after I was appointed or brought in as acting mayor, I had a conference call with the Attorney General and the IEPA. And I'll tell you what, you talk about humiliating and humbling someone, is being on a call and having an Attorney General treat you out because of something that someone else did. It was rough. And you know, I'm sitting there on the other end of the line saying, why am I doing this? And all of a sudden I told the Attorney General, so, well, I'm the new acting mayor, and I can tell you this is what we're going to do. And this is what we've done already. Time we got off that line, her last statement was, well, it's a good thing we talked, because next week I was about ready to drag you back into court. She said, we will hold off everything. I will see if you're going to do what you say you're going to do. You know, we haven't been back in court since. And every time they call, we give them exactly what they want. So, you know, and that's what's important, is making sure that we're working with these agencies as a municipality. We had a mindset that was sitting here prior to me, that the IEPA should pay to do all the work. And it was the IEPA's fault that we were having all these problems. Well, you don't sit there and point at a large agency like that and say it's your fault. You know, and we're not going to do anything about it, especially when you got the Attorney General sitting on the other end of the table. So, Steve.
A lot of people talk about our legal fees and how there's maybe some misappropriation of funds. Would you care to elaborate on that? And are we doing everything we can to keep that down?
Oh, definitely. When you look at our legal fees, I mean, our attorneys are there to protect you, the residents. If we didn't have so many, you know, sometimes I say frivolous lawsuits, that's the problem we're having. You got people that file lawsuits. Again, like I said earlier, we're still fighting some lawsuits that go all the way back to the previous administration. The attorneys are doing their best to keep the cost down. You know, I have, every once in a while, I'll get a call in and talk to Bert Olson, see what we can do. You know, you look at some of the things we did. We've reduced the amount of time they attend village board meetings. The attorneys are here only twice a month at those board meetings, if we're having a board meeting. Okay? They are working on, you know, only things they have to. We try to make sure that when we talk to them, unless it's a dire emergency, we talk to them when they come to a board meeting, because they're already getting paid. So there's no sense on talking to them here and then coming here and talking to them again. We try to condense whatever we can. We try to make sure that, you'll see sometimes I'm meeting with the attorneys before the board meetings, or I'm meeting with the attorneys after the board meetings. That's because we're trying to reduce the cost. Let's get everything done right here and now. We get things throughout the week. We'll put together a packet, and then we can hand them that packet to reduce the cost. We have, on certain cases, you know, again, when you look at the litigation, we've tried to reduce the amount of attorneys that we have. Sauk Village had a ton of attorneys when I first came on board. We reduced everything down to one attorney, and then we also have our attorneys that come and are appointed by our insurance company. So when you look at stuff like that, the amount of work that we've done, and you look at the amount of litigation that we resolved in the last 2 years, I mean, there's a lot of litigation that was just completely resolved, that was sitting out there that no one was doing anything about, and all it was doing was ramping up the attorney's fees. So, good question.
On those attorneys, on the litigation that you're talking about, do we win more than we lose?
You know, when we have Otis and Stirk, we do. Otis and Stirk is a fighter. And I know residents talk about a part of litigation we just lost. Number one, that wasn't the village attorneys, that was appointed by the risk management. It was risk management or one of the insurance companies. Everything was being done without the village's knowledge. And next thing we knew, the village received a letter, and a letter or email or something, I don't know what it was, saying that this case has been resolved, and here's the amount that it's going to cost, and here's how much you're paying out. You know, I contacted the village attorneys right away. I said, number one, I didn't know anything about this. Number two, I'm not in agreement with it. And they contacted the attorneys that was handling the case and said, you know, the village board knew nothing about this, number one. Number two, they're not in favor of what it was. And pretty much the village was told, well, if you don't accept it, and it continues to go in court, then you have to pick up anything additional costs. And you'll be doing it against our wishes, the wishes of the other attorneys. So, you know, one thing that we thought was, they made it where nothing could be disclosed. So the village was going to be out, what was the number, $290,000? $290,000. And the village hands were tied, and we couldn't disclose anything about who it was involved with or anything. So our attorneys went back and said, that's not right. Said the village board is going to vote on it, to approve it. They have the right to disclosure, especially when it comes to FOIA. When the other attorneys said, well, the information based off the case cannot be FOIA, and we said, you know what, it's the best interest for the village residents to know exactly who's getting paid. Because I'll be honest with you, it deals with village employees, suing village employees.
How much of that was actually covered by the insurance company?
You know, again, they're still looking at it. It happened back in 2009, and the village's portion, again, we're trying to figure out exactly which insurance we were under. It's either $25,000 or $50,000, because Sauk Village is self-insured. I don't have that number, which it was. I don't know if they ever came back and told me.
Okay.
But again, when you look at, you know, as a resident, you're paying, it's either $25,000 or $50,000, and the insurance company is paying the remainder. Well, what ends up happening is it affects our future insurance rates. So, you know, am I in favor for that ruling? No, I'm not. I'll be honest with you. You know, and again, if I would have known, you know, this is one of the things that no one knew was happening, and it was back in 2009. It was assigned to these attorneys under the previous administration. They were not providing us any updates on this. You know, usually a attorney firm will call you in. You get to sit as a mayor, unless I appoint a trustee or anyone else to go in. We get to be part of the mediation that's going back and forth. Sauk Village was not part of that mediation going back and forth at all. You know, and then we fought very hard. I've said in quite a few of these mediations going back and forth. And it's tough. You sit there all day, and you have a magistrate that goes from room to room. You're in one room, they're in the other room. And that magistrate comes back and sits down and tells you, well, here's what they want, what are you willing to do? You know, so I can tell you that it goes back and forth, and I've sat in meetings that started at 8:30 in the morning and been there till 6 o'clock at night, going back and forth, back and forth. So, and I've gone back, and we didn't get anything resolved that night. You go back a month later, you sit back, and you start right where you left off at. But that's the way it's done. You don't say I'll pay $290,000 and not have the village involved.
how many homes are still empty here in the village?
I know what. I get a report on it very so often. The numbers went down.
They're working real hard on it.
Compared to when we first came in office, I think we were at, oh man, it was like over 30% of the homes in Sauk Village. I can't remember what the number is right now, to be honest with you. I'll try to find that number out. So this question I'm writing down, I am right now. But the numbers are going down. We're seeing between investors coming in, we're seeing homeowners coming in. Demographics in Sauk Village are changing. I know a lot of people want to say the demographics aren't changing, but they are. We're seeing a large influx of Latinos moving into Sauk Village. And what they're doing is they're coming in and buying the homes, and they're fixing them up. And what they're doing is they're buying another house, or bringing a family member in, and they're fixing those houses up. And what you're finding is the demographics have changed in the last 2.5 years. So, don't believe everything you hear out there in the streets, because it's not factual. See?
Being a mayor of this town is a thankless job. I want to hear the reasons why you hang in there and you still do it in spite of all your critics.
You talk about critics. It doesn't matter what position you're in, if your position is mayor, if your position is president of the United States, if your position is governor of the state of Illinois, you've got critics, right? I look at the president of the United States and I think about the critics he has. I'm glad I'm only in town about 10,000 people. But, I love this community. I tell everyone, in fact, you'll see on that last page in there, my parents moved here when I was 5. I've lived here all my life. I've raised my family here. I can't think of anywhere else I'd want to be. I stay in office because of my passion for this community. It's, do we have a lot of work to do here in Sauk Village? You better believe it. There's so much that needs to be done. And, sometimes I probably asked myself in the past, why didn't I do it? I think anyone would. You come into a position like this that, again, you say it's thankless. You look at the position when I came into the village, the amount of unpaid bills that were sitting on the back desk. When you look at the deficit that we're sitting in, it's tough. The amount of hours that I put into this job, it's a lot. The travel back and forth to Springfield, the meetings with our state representatives, meetings with department heads, meetings with village residents. It does take a lot of time. But again, being part of the community is what I've grown up to believe in. I was a cadet on the police department back in the 80s, before I was married. Again, that was volunteering, being part of my community, being part of committees, zoning board, again, another volunteering. I've always volunteered in the community because it's part of being part of the community. Again, we talked about last Tuesday night, volunteers. We're looking for more volunteers. That's what it takes. It takes the volunteers to help the community run. And you look at everything that happens in Sauk Village. We have a volunteer fire department. So those guys coming out there working. Beautification committee, volunteers. Look at all the work that was done this last year, going out there and meeting with businesses and getting them to adopt portions of Sauk Village. Getting, flowers, and then getting out there and planting those flowers. And they decorated for the seasons. Think about it, around harvest, around Halloween, whatever you want to call it. Think about all the stuff that they had on the outside of the community center, on the outside of the municipal center. At Christmas time, look at how they decorated everything around at Christmas time. And there's a lot of work. Those are all volunteers. All of our committees, you can name them off, going right down the line. Those are all volunteers that are coming out and helping and being part of your community. So I have to say, if I wasn't mayor, I'd be volunteering for something else. But, it keeps me pretty busy, but I enjoy it. So, anything else?
And just one more question from me. Maybe a couple, 2 or 3 weeks ago, somebody made comments about a bunch of bills that are unpaid in a drawer. And is that true? And if it is, what can be done about something like that?
Yeah, there is, I think like with anything, there's unpaid bills. What we try to do is, try to keep that 90 to 120 day period of time, but anyone that's in a corporate world, you know exactly what it's like. And let's go back, and I'll come back to that for a minute. When I became mayor, I quit running this municipality like it was a political revolving door. Started running this municipality like it was a corporate, like you would in a corporate world, and that's what's important. In the past, it was you bring in the people that ran with you, and you start filling positions. And what do we do in the corporate world when they don't have enough money coming in? They start making cuts, right? 2.5 years ago, instead of bringing people in, we started making cuts, important cuts. We started to bring people up through the ranks to fill positions that weren't being filled. We started taking on more responsibilities. You talk about the corporate world, what do they do? I always talk about lean, right? I can tell you right now, our village is running pretty lean. But you know what? Things are getting done. Because employees have started doing more work. So we talk about there's bills. I can tell you that one of the changes we made was they used to vote on the accounts payable to pay stuff. Checks were cut, checks were left on the back desk. And until the money came in, the checks were sitting there. We're not doing that anymore. We're not cutting checks if we don't have the money. Okay? We look at the oldest bills. We look at, there's things we look at. Number one, we try to make sure we pay the oldest bills first. But if there's something that's going to affect something that one of our departments are doing, that they need something paid so they can get something done, we'll make sure we try to get that paid also. So again, there's some prioritizing. There's some also looking at how it's going to affect departments and make sure that our departments can run to the best of their efficiency. So again, it's a little different. We do have bills. There's probably no one sitting here that doesn't have a bill. What you do is you pay their bills as the money comes in, and again, prioritizing. So that's what's important. Sure.
Didn't our credit rating go back up?
Our credit rating has not gone back up yet. We are working on that, Joe. We're looking at our credit rating. We've looked at working with Kane & McKenna, who's our financial people, find out exactly what we need to do. We're hoping to hear something soon.
The vendors started working with us again.
Oh yeah, the vendors, tell you, we were on a no credit basis with our vendors when I came in here. If we wanted something done, we had to issue a check right then and there. We had to walk in with cash. So you talk about 2.5 years ago, it was a pain to get anything done. We're getting our vendors now. We're saying, okay, I tell you what, you're starting to pay your bills. You may be at the 90, 120 days. Some of them might be a little bit even longer, but you know what you're paying. So they started giving us some credit. Some of the older vendors, some of the smaller moms and pops that we do business with, they're still at the point where they still need their money. I think it's like any small business; they need their money coming in. They can't wait that 120, 180 days. Any other questions?
I was last Sunday morning, I was sitting down talking to a group of young men, and they asked me this question. Why is it that the restaurant on the corner up there cannot be open? They was interested in it, and I told them the only thing I could say is I would bring it up to you and see if you can find out for them and report back to them. They wanted to be able to open up that restaurant or open up a restaurant someplace in the village.
All right. Yeah, it's a good question. Sauk Village doesn't own that restaurant. Number one. Was it Ted and George Daniels? Hopefully I got their names right. The last name's right, Daniels. They own that property. So, best thing to do is contact them for that. I do know that there's been multiple restaurants looking at that. I can tell you that, I think I can say this without getting in trouble. I know that I've heard talks of Shoops. I've heard talks of Around the Clock, the original Around the Clock looking at it again. I've heard talks of another breakfast restaurant, I can't remember the name of it, looking at it again. Again, I don't get involved in the negotiation of the costs, in that area over there. One thing we do is we're open to them. That if there's anything we can do to help bring business to Sauk Village, we're definitely open. You know, in the last few months we've passed a lot of tax incentives to bring businesses. Advance Auto took a Class 8 tax incentive to bring them in here. We've got over in the TIF, we've got over a 700,000 square foot building. We gave them a tax incentive for a Class 8. What does that do? I'll give you an example. The building over in the TIF, without the tax incentive, it was about approximately $2.80 per square foot to lease that building. With the tax incentive, they were able to offer that building at about 95 cents per square foot to be able to get a business in there. Now, are we still higher than the people we're competing against? Yes, we're still competing against Dyer, Indiana, okay, and all of Indiana. We're still competing to the areas to the south of us, which is Will County. Will County averages about between 45 cents and 75 cents per square foot. So it shows you what we're competing against, okay? But we have a building that's already in place. If we can get someone to come in and get in here, number one, that brings in more tax revenue, because right now it's vacant. It brings in jobs into our community. That's why you work on those tax incentives. We're also working with the state and county to find out what other tax incentives there are out there. You know, is there employee tax incentives to help employer who's going to hire new people? Is there training incentives, which there is? And when a business comes to Sauk Village, you know, we sit down with them. We put everything together, an entire package of what we want to do for business in Sauk Village. You know, I had someone reach out to me about Excellent. You know, they're looking for a Class 8, which at this point I can't give them a Class 8, or I can't bring it to the board because a Class 8 requires for a building to be vacant for a year. We don't want to see that building vacant for a year, but if it is, there's no doubt that I'll be bringing before the village board to put a Class 8, a recommendation for a Class 8 for that property. Again, it's difficult to get businesses, especially in Cook County, or especially when you're on the edge of Cook County, and you're competing against Indiana and Will County.
In the areas of cost-saving initiatives and economic development, okay, our board, you know, they come from all walks of life, but maybe they're not specialists in economic development or finance. Is there a fine line where we can decide that maybe we should look to the outside for help instead of depending upon, you know, what we have here?
You bring up a good point. Again, I have to be honest with you, for the last 6 months to a year, I've really been pushing hard for the trustees to get involved. Twice a month, this is under cost savings initiatives, to try to get them to come up with something. Again, it's not something that I'm going to do, I'll be honest with you. The trustees, when they bring the cost savings initiative, it is their responsibility to run with it. I know that there's been a couple trustees that have brought cost savings initiatives, and they're running with it. Okay? You know, I'm going to be honest with you, don't give me a piece of paper and say, here, you need to do this. You're the trustee. You're elected too.
Right.
You know, get out there. Don't come back and say, you know, well, you should do this, you should do that. And then all your suggestions say this is a long-term goal. Well, good, here, there's a long-term goal for you to go do. You know? Don't come back to me a year later and say, well, you didn't listen to me. Well, no, you didn't listen to yourself.
That's right.
You have the suggestion, get yourself a committee, come back before this village board and say what you're going to do. You know, just don't throw something in somebody's lap and then push and point the finger. You know, that's ridiculous. Tell you what, you know, take responsibility. That's what I've been trying to push back on the trustees. Take responsibility. I don't want your credit. I've said it all along. I've said it from day one. I don't want your credit. I want you to be able to stand for the village residents and you take credit for it.
That's right, that's right, that's right.
That's what's important. Show the village residents what you're doing.
Exactly.
And if all you can do is throw a piece of paper out there and point the finger, you're doing nothing. Nothing at all. And that's what it is. So, and again, I know John was here earlier. I'd say the same thing. I don't care who's here. I got Debbie sitting right there. Her daughter's sitting on board too. And Frank, you know, I'm out there working every single day for the village residents. And I'm bringing stuff to the table. You know, I don't care if you bring something to the table that's going to save $1,000. You can at least say, I brought something to the table and I save the residents $1,000. Don't come back and say, oh, that's pennies. Well, so what, that is pennies. But show me what you've done. And if it's nothing, you've done nothing. Besides, take a piece of paper and put it on the table. So, and I push them. I push trustees hard. And if you come to board meetings, you'll see we have some heated meetings. You know, not like it was a couple years ago.
No, not like that.
But I tell you, I think strong debate is good.
Yes.
You know, because sometimes it takes strong debate to get people off their backsides to do something. So I've got a couple of trustees that still have done nothing. So besides point fingers. All right?
Those flyers.
Well,
Has this new intergovernmental committee improved the relationships between the taxing bodies in Sauk Village to get the library and schools and the board all on the same page so they can share communications better with the community and get the word out even better than just using Facebook or the website or even the Sauk Talk?
now, I think that's a great question for the committee person. I don't know if you've heard any reports to that over the last 2 years. I'll be honest with you, maybe it's my fault. I can't tell you exactly what that committee's doing. I've seen them give a couple programs for residents. But that's all I can say that I've seen. I think maybe that's a good question to find out exactly what the relationship is between. I can tell you when it comes to intergovernmental, I feel like sometimes I'm the one doing it. I'm the one that's reaching out to all the other governments, agencies, and talking to them. So, but again, I think that'd be a great question to ask. And again, I will try to find out. Exactly. Again, the committee chairs should be giving reports on exactly what they're doing. I think what's interesting is go back for the last couple of years and see what these reports are actually being given.
I just want to say thank you for the conversation that you have with some of these senators and people like that. For them to come to Sauk Village, it takes a person like yourself to have a rapport with those people to get them to want to come to Sauk Village. They can go on Facebook and see the rhetoric that goes out there every day. And I'm sure some of them do. Some of them probably don't have time to do that. But thank God that you have that rapport and the drive to go after those people, and they care enough about us to come here for you. It speaks volumes for yourself.
You know, I tell everyone, Facebook.
It's a critter.
I look at some of our Facebooks are nothing more than tablets. You go to the store, and you see your tablets when you're walking through the checkout line. You know, we've got some Facebook pages or same thing. And just like I don't pick up the tablets, I don't pick up those Facebook pages. So every once in a while, someone prints something off, stick it in my box anonymously, and say, "What are you going to do about this?" Nothing. I'm not going to do anything about it. I know I make some people upset. You know, why don't you respond? You know, because that's what they want. They're not going to respond. And you know, everyone has a right. You know, if you want to get out there and bash someone, you have that right. I'm not. You know, I could do the same thing. I could go out there and bash people, but I'm not going to. I mean, that's not me. You know, I have no reason to bash someone just because I don't like them, because I hate them. You know, take me dating away from all. You know, grow up. That's all I can say. Just grow up.
Why'd they leave the village in the first place? Sorry.
I will. I'll get it out there, and I'm hoping all my family members are taking all these questions down because I've been so involved in answering questions. But yeah, I'll pull the video and come up with a question. Again, this is what I'm going to do. I like to get these questions printed and get them out there to the residents. Again, I'd like to have it done before our next meeting. And right now, the goal is on the second Saturday of every month to be here. You know, I'd like to see more people come. Bring your neighbors. You know, ask questions. It seems like sometimes the only time we see a lot of people come is if there's a problem on their block, or if something happened that made them upset. But I think these are good, let people, keep people involved, you know, hear what's going on. But I'll get those on my website, either that or I'll get them on my blog. You know, I'm behind right now on all that stuff because of my new job. But I told my kids, for a while I was passing stuff off to my kids and they're putting stuff on there for me, but I'm probably going to start doing it again to get information out there.
I actually got here a little late. I had a library board meeting. There was only one copy left of that summary when I got here. I made more copies.
Okay,
So if
great.
anybody did not get a copy of it, it's on the back desk. Can I e-blast that?
Sure.
If you send it to me, I'll put it on the website and the e-blast
Sure.
for people who were not able to come. And also, because I was late, I don't know if you made an announcement about Enbridge and the March 3rd meeting.
I have.
I put flyers on the desk over there for you.
Oh,
And there's also flyers on the back desk for the public.
You know, let's talk about the March 3rd meeting. One of the things, the questions you'll see on there from last month was a question about the water usage and things like that. March 3rd, we've got a meeting here at the Village Hall at 6 o'clock p.m. And Jim Zarnick is going to be coming as our village engineer. He's going to give it an update on the water situation and where we're at on the wells. He's going to be talking about answering a lot of these questions for the residents on, you know, questions that are out there. It's a presentation only though, okay? So, you know, we've been taking all these questions that we're getting, trying to make sure he receives them all. So when he gives his presentation, he can inform the residents everything that's happening and where we're at. The other thing too is Enbridge. Enbridge was through here a couple years ago, I think it was, repairing some lines and fixing some lines, and they've got Enbridge is the one that handles the gas and crude oil lines that run through our community. They are getting ready, in fact, I think they've already started in the south, in putting a line in coming all the way from Peoria. I think it's Peoria all the way to the Griffith site. And there's portions of Sauk Village that they're coming through. So what they're doing is having an open house here on Thursday. Is it 6:30 or 7?
It's 5:30.
5:30.
This
5:30 to
Thursday.
7:30.
This Thursday.
5:30
It's right there. It's
7:30.
either 5 or 5:30.
Okay. Yeah, it's 5:30, you're right. It's 5:30 to 7:30 here at the Village Hall. Kind of give residents on what's happening, what they're doing. Again, they are running, and they tried to make sure that they came through. And we had, man, I can't remember how many meetings we had with Enbridge, because some of the areas that they're going through was going to affect our future development. And Enbridge worked with us. They were great. You know, if you look at the initial, they were coming through our TIF area where we have all of our future development. They were going right through the middle of it. We weren't going to be able to build. We were able to get them to move their pipeline where it goes all the way on the outskirts, going all the way up 394, going underneath the railroad tracks, underneath the bridge, and going all the way down to the Griffith facility. So, you know, Enbridge has been a major contributor to Sauk Village. They've worked with us. They've given money to our Parks and Recs to buy new basketballs and volleyballs. They have given money to our police department through grant programs for, I think it's bulletproof vests or hazardous.
Public relations for student government.
Public relations, they've given money to. They donated 2 trucks, SUVs to Sauk Village, and we put those in. First, we had one administration, one inside Public Works. We've recently moved it to Public Works and to ESDA, which is Homeland Security. Again, these are vehicles we didn't have to buy. They just reached out and just donated them to Sauk Village. They came in and gave us an additional $25,000 to fix and patch Jeffrey Avenue. So if you look at from the light on Sauk Trail going to Jeffrey, that's all brand new going all the way to the library, which is I think 217th. After that, you'll see there was patching done. That was based off the $25,000 that Enbridge gave us. Because if you remember, they drove some trucks and stuff down through there to go to the golf field and do some work 2 years ago. They came back and looked at the road and said, you know what, we'll give you $25,000 to do some patching and help you out. So Enbridge has been an asset to our community and has really helped us out. So that meeting's here Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30. You can hear what's going on and what they're doing. Any other questions?
The car wash back there, what happened to it that it was closed down? Why was it closed down?
Car wash?
Yeah, the car wash.
You know,
Text.
again, economic development, I can't talk too much about it.
Okay.
Well, all I can say is keep your eyes open for that corner. find out you saw for sale sign go up. There's a reason for that, for the Jiffy Lube. And the car wash is being demolished. And, you know, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Again, we're working with potential developers to do some major work on that corner.
But it was the decision of the person who owned that car wash
Correct.
to leave. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
That's the question. That's the answer.
Yes, there's some, like I said, everyone keep your fingers crossed. There's some good things getting ready to happen on that corner, you know, if everything goes through. Again, a lot depends on, you know, if we can get some good tax incentives come through. Again, we're working with state and county to help out. Again, I started the meeting off talking about how I was meeting with Dunkin' Donuts. There's a reason for that. So, again, there's a lot of things when it comes to economic development. I don't want to spill my guts and tell everyone what's happening. But again, a lot of these companies come in, they make you sign non-disclosures. They want to keep it quiet. They want to be the ones that come out and say what they're doing. They don't want someone else to come out. It could end up stopping something from happening. So, right.
Is anything happening with the crime-free housing?
Crime-free housing. You know, there's crime-free housing is a slow process. And I talked to some other communities. It took some communities like over 2 years to get it up and running. We've had meetings with landlords, our police department heads. The police department has gone through some training. I think this month, there's additional training that's going to be happening for crime-free housing. Again, getting everything, all the processes in place is very time-consuming. But I would say, you know, we've had crime-free housing on our books now for a little over a year. I would think, you know, based off some of the last communications, we're pretty much right on line, especially when talking to other communities, when it comes to getting things in place and having the meetings we're supposed to have, reaching out to our landlords. I would say probably within the next year, there's going to be some major movement when it comes to crime-free housing. I think we're going to have all the teeth that we need to do. When I talk about the teeth, you know, you can pass ordinance, but if you don't have all the training, if you don't have all the proper paperwork, if you don't have all the proper education, you can lose cases in court. So we're making sure that we have all of our, if you want to say all of our ducks in a row, making sure we have all that. But the person that's really heading that right now is Deputy Chief Sauk. She's got that on her plate now.
With the new committee that's working to go after the people that aren't paying their bills, now, I think we've been assigned our number from what Mr. Myers was saying. Do we think we're going to see any of that funds start rolling in, or do you think these people are just going to blow it off again and all this money's going to keep snowballing that is owed to the village?
No, I think we're going to start seeing money. We won't see as much as we think at the beginning. Everyone I talk to talks about it's a very slow process. And we have, getting our number was a major hurdle. Again, it's one of those things where you start gathering all the information, which they started early, getting your committee formed, which we have our committee formed. You know, we call it the Debt Recovery Committee, but they have a different name for it.
Well, it was a local debt recovery program,
Okay.
but it's been now named the Sauk Village Debt Recovery Program.
Right. So we have our committee formed. We're working with our collection agencies. You know, Sauk Village has really 2 collection agencies. We have our current one, and then we have one that was here in Sauk Village previous. They have debt that's due, so they don't have the debt, but they have the proper paperwork of the people that owe us money. You know, when we first started this, we figured, just based off initial numbers, about $250,000 in Sauk Village. You know, after reaching out to both of our collection agencies, you know, we just found out a number of $400,000 has been sitting out there for quite a few years that no one knew about. So what ends up happening is your first year is kind of a trial. They send stuff out to these people, and again, you only get the money if someone has a refund coming from the state. You know, state refunds are usually pretty small, especially for me, I get a couple dollars. But you know, it's not like you're federal. A lot of people might see a federal return and then get, you know, $500 or more. Okay. So what we do is the state, when someone gets a state refund, if they owe Sauk Village money, that money will not be refunded to them, it will be refunded back to the village. And there's a lot of work on that one too, because going out there and finding out, going back and finding the individuals, you know, that committee has done a lot of work. I think we got the right individuals on that committee. You know, and again, when you look at your committee, you look at, you know, where they're coming from, what expertise they have. And we have broad amount of expertise on that committee that knows exactly, they have a lot of long-term village interest, so they know all things that has happened in the past. So I would say the first year we're not going to see a lot. I've already told the committee, though, I said if we get $1, I said I want to come back to the village and say, hey, we got $1. Because I want to show progress. Again, and that whole entire committee and that whole entire amount of work came because of Trustee Myers with a cost savings initiative saying, here's the way I think we can get money. And I said, Trustee, if you think we can do it, it's yours. And I said, do you want to do it? He said, yes. He's now sitting on that committee working on it. That's what it takes. Again, not sitting on your phones, doing this, and pointing fingers. It's doing it. Anything else? Yes?
Just a reminder, next month when you have your meet the mayor, after that, come over to the community center. That's when we have the crack jump,
Oh, that's right.
same day.
Crash show next, that's on the 14th too, or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. Got 2 months in a row, the days fall in the series. Everyone's waiting to be taken out to eat.
Don't forget the chili cook-off then too,
When is that same day?
March 14th.
The same day?
Wow.
Wow. I'll tell you what, I would be broken for the same day.
That's on the 14th. I haven't heard. So you're taking us all out? Is that what I just heard? We're all ready to be taken out for dinner? That's what he just said. No, that's what he just said. He said, we're all waiting to be taken out.
All I know is, when I said, bring your sweetheart to meet the mayor on the 14th, Frank wanted to know if there was a plural or singular.
How many sweethearts does he have in this room?
They're all mine. They're all mine. They're all mine.
Then if you don't know Frank, you don't know he's a Casanova. All right, it's still early. Does anyone have any other questions? I say I
Wasn't
appreciate
there
it.
more about well 3 that we didn't own that property or something, and now that's been resolved?
That's all there is now. Well, number 3, that was a hassle. I'll tell you what. I'm trying to think everything I can go back on number 3. Well, number 3, it was shut down in 2009. We went to do all the repair work to it and found out Sauk Village did not own the property, or at least the majority of the property that it was sitting on. We had to go back and work with Roadway, which was pretty difficult because there was other lawsuits against Roadway and Sauk Village at the same time. But Roadway worked with Sauk Village, we were able to get that property. A lot of that work that happened at well number 3 took a little bit of time. That took longer than we thought because we had to work out all the details working with Roadway. So now we own all the property. And has everyone seen the board for well number 3? Go at that board on my back office. Go in my office and then open the door to the left. It's right there against the wall. You know, well number 3 is unbelievable with the amount of work that's been done. We put in all new air strippers, we put in all new piping inside well number 3. We've done a whole entire new work to the whole entire building. We've added generators. I mean, the generator out there is just unbelievable. And the first time I went out there, a generator sitting there, and first thing at that point I said, is that ours? You know, and it's new, so that's what really makes it nice. And like I said, well number 3 is up and running, and you know, you're drinking water from well number 3. And again, we started off the meeting talking about water, right? You know, is it going to be something that we expect from the property? So I should know definitely. And it just makes one thing clear: is people want to say we have contaminated water. Well, again, it's knowing all the facts. You know, you could say Lake Michigan water is contaminated, right? How many times throughout the year do they close their beaches down? How many times do you hear about someone dumping something in Lake Michigan water? You could say the same thing about Lake Michigan water. But by the time they treat that water is no longer contaminated, is it? Sauk Village is the same way. We have some vinyl chloride in our water in the ground, yes. But before it reaches your house, all those contaminants are removed. So, again, you have to be careful. Again, we talked about earlier, it's an election year and all kinds of things. The fact is, you know, what's the old saying, don't believe anything you hear, nor half what you see. We're going to hear a lot of stuff. So, yeah, we put this up, so if you want to come out after the meeting, you're going to look at it. But, so everything you see here, especially in these areas here, these are all well number 3. This is, this is, we talk about our new iron,
Iron removal?
no, that's not iron removal, that's the other.
Which one are you looking
Air
at?
strippers. We have air strippers are in there. We talk about all the new generators. This is our new generator. So this is sitting on site. This is ready to run if our power goes down. Again, all new pipes. These are not pictures taken from anywhere else except for Sauk Village, it's like 1 of 3. So kind of give you a little bit of description and stuff going on there. So again, it's exciting. It's exciting to see what wells 1 and 2 are going to look like in the next couple months because they are working out there tirelessly to get wells 1 and 2 up and running. So hopefully that answered your questions. You know, I did get a suggestion, and we'll try to get it done. We'll try to get it done for the next meeting, because I didn't get it done, but, you know, next meeting, you're going to have to remind me, but I want to put up another board over here on the side. We'll get some Post-it notes. And if there's some questions that maybe you don't want to ask, or you're kind of nervous to say anything from a board meeting or in front of residents and stuff, we'll have some Post-it notes set on a table and some pens. You can write those on there. And if you want to, before you leave, you just stick it on there. Okay? And what we'll do is we'll take those notes, Post-its, and we'll try to get those questions and stuff answered. If we don't answer it to the village board meeting, we'll put another sheet out like we did this morning with questions and answers. Try to get those answers for you. But again, it was a suggestion, and I did not get it done today. I wanted to have it done, but we'll get it done for the next meeting. It's a pretty easy thing for you to do. Just time. Again, if you have any questions, if you don't want to say anything here today, you can always email me. It's dhanks@saukvillage.org. It's pretty easy. Just my first letter, my first name, last name, at saukvillage.org. Send me your questions, and we'll try to get them answered. And if you don't want a response, that's fine, but we'll try to make sure we get those answered again at board meetings or events like this. Try to get them on the Sauk Village website. One thing is we're putting on the website is parents. What's that called?
Parental guidance ordinance.
Parental guidance ordinance. And a lot of residents were asking about that. The parents should be responsible for these kids. A lot of people agree. Well, Sauk Village passed an ordinance. There have been some questions about it. We got that ordinance. It's been posted on the website, so if anyone wants to see that, we're going to make sure it's put in the next Sauk Talk for everyone, right? We're going to try. They didn't have the ordinance, but at least mention it, the ordinance number.
We're going to mention it.
Yep, so we'll get that mentioned. Making sure the police department has everything that they need when it comes to issuing tickets and things like that. So it is out there. And it's one of the things that Robert Chavez, trustee, that was one of the things that he really pushed before leaving Sauk Village. So I think it's one of the things that you think about happening in the previous administration and people forget about it. Well, sometimes you have to, knock us in the head once in a while and say, hey, what about this? We go out there and do the research and find you're right. Something needs to start being enforced.
It is going to start being enforced, though, because it's been on the books for...
2009, 2010.
Well, Robert was elected, I think, 2011. But are they going to actually enforce it now?
It's, we're putting all the information together.
Okay.
And, what ticket number it has to be under, all that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
Trustee Myers is putting everything together And Trustee Myers, he does a lot of things that people don't realize. You know, he put together a whole entire cheat sheet, if you want to call, for our officers to use when writing tickets. Because we changed over, we codified our codes. A lot of the codes changed, the numbers changed, but it was still out there, and they were having problems finding stuff. So he put together a cheat sheet and said, under this old code, this is what the new code number is. So it made it easier for them, for the officers. And kind of help them make their job a little bit more easier, but they would get things done faster.
Speaking of ordinances, what about the walking in the street and the Sauk pants ordinances were approved by the board, but I don't think they're being enforced. Are we going to start highlighting that now that the spring is coming?
You know, you bring up a good point when it comes to, I don't see too much saggy pants this type of weather.
I do.
But
Spring's coming.
walking in the street, yeah, I still see a lot of that, but I still see a lot of sidewalks not being shoveled. So, you know, again, I think you have a little bit of leniency as long as the kids are smart enough. And again, it's not always kids, it's got adults out there too. As long as they're smart enough to get out of the way, especially in this type of weather. I think in the summer months, you have a little bit more power to enforce that. And, you know, you look at our police department is usually running constantly. I think a lot of times we talk about earlier about prioritizing. Sometimes you prioritize, do I want to stop a kid, or do I need to get to a domestic? Or do I need to get to where I'm getting a call that someone thinks some kids are breaking into a house? So, again, we leave a lot of that to the discretion of the officer. But there is an officer out there writing tickets for walking on the streets. Again, a lot of that depends on how much time they have and prioritizing what's more important to do. And I think last summer I did get a report. You'd be surprised how many walking on the street tickets there really is. Last year, the chief gave us a report because he was hearing a lot of complaints. We're not enforcing it, not enforcing it. He came back to me and said, well, we are enforcing. Here's how many tickets we wrote last month.
When those tickets are written, do they go to the parents? Are they required to take her?
No, the tickets are usually issued to the kids at first, but then it's part of the parental responsibility. And I think he has to look at it in three steps. Issue to the youth first, and then if it's not being taken care of, then the parents. So back to that one, he does that. Yes.
When will this improved lighting work begin, and will that take care of the lights that don't work at all?
Very good question, because I think I had it right here and I forgot to bring it up. I don't know how many people are here today that realize that the improved lighting we've got. We went to, I think it's on the sheet, we talked about the energy efficient lighting that we've got. You know, Sauk Village took what you want to call the presidential challenge, and we're getting ready to put out an entire news release for this, the presidential challenge for advanced outdoor lighting. Sauk Village is one of the first communities in this area, one of them that has taken this challenge. You know, the majority of the money, I think all of it came from grants and things like that we received to get these installed. We've already started installing the new fixtures, and everything should be installed. Right? If everything works out weather-wise, I think by the end of next year, we have, over 500 lights, 500, 600 lights that we have in Sauk Village. And it should take care of the ones that are not working, unless there's a ComNet issue where power is not getting to that pole. But what they're doing also is if they go into an area that a light is not working, they replace it with that new fixture. If it still does not work, Kevin is contacting ComNet. So usually that means that there's power not going to that pole. So I think if everything works out, it should be next year. All the lights in Sauk Village should have this new energy efficient lighting. Should be brighter on the streets, should be clear. And again, we took the President's Challenge. Like I said, we're coming on a news release. I think we got something to Washington to President Obama to let him know that Sauk Village has taken this challenge. Steve?
I've heard it said that we've got a bobblehead board. Do you think that's true, or do you think they have minds of their own?
I think the board has minds of their own, trust me. You know, people may say, well, they're up there, or bobbleheads, you know, shaking their heads, yes. You know, I would challenge you to look at the last 2 years of all the ordinances and resolutions that have been voted on and tell me that there's a bobblehead board up there. You're going to find out that the majority of things that we bring to the board, number one, we've talked about, we've discussed, we've brainstormed, we've gone over it and over it and over it so that when we come, and maybe, you know, if you want to say we've compromised in some of these areas so we get things passed, it happens that way. The majority of things that we vote on, you're going to find that there's only a couple things that trustees may have disagreed on. We brought it to the board anyway. There's been a very small percentage of what we brought to the board this last 2 years that the board has been in disagreement on, but they've been very important disagreements. We tried to work out the advanced auto project, giving them a class 8. You know, in the very end, we ended up bringing it with only one trustee voting against it. If the trustee voted against because he didn't like the person that runs the shopping mall, I don't care what his excuse was. The important thing was bringing jobs to this community and filling 5 vacant buildings that have been vacant for years. So again, talking about you got to put your differences aside and think about the betterment of Sauk Village and what's better for its residents. You know, so when you look at some of the things that we voted, the votes were not consistent. You know, I had a budget last year that one trustee voted against, but in the end, he voted for the appropriations ordinance. He voted against the budget, but voted to pay the money out, which didn't make sense. I mean, if you're going to vote against the budget, you might as well vote against spending the money. But he didn't. So look at the voting history. Again, you look at the amount of meetings that we have. You look at the amount of discussions that we have. And I can't tell you again the amount of discussions that we have when trustees come back and talk to me and say, explain this to me. Why is this better? So again, and just as in any type of government, it's my responsibility as a mayor to share the information, to provide the information so they have as much information as possible. So there's no bobbleheads sitting up there. They vote the way they want to. Again, they don't vote until they have all the information that they feel they need to have. And there's been times when trustees come back and say, you know what, I like to have this table, I'd like to have this removed. We've tabled stuff this last year because they want additional information. Again, I think, like I said, challenging when I go out there and see, look at the voting record. You're going to find it's a small percentage that the board ever voted against, or someone on the board is voting against something, and those have been very important votes for Sauk Village.
My last question. The picture that's behind you right now, this is all brand new stuff that was put in under your administration. Am I right or wrong? The pipes and things in this building is right there under. So what, I don't want to think about it, but we have to think about what would have happened if you would have never got up and started moving this instead of just keep calling about well going down, this well going sideways. But you didn't. You said, well, no, this is what I want for the people in Sauk Village. We go out and get this stuff and put it back in. Debbie and I, she fell in the middle of the street trying to see them setting them things down because it was exciting to see when they brought them there to put all this brand new stuff back in work here to try to help the water in this village get better. And honestly, God, I'm one can say that it is better in my house.
Well, I can tell you and I can assure you that if under this administration, if we would not have taken these steps, the state was willing to come in and take over Sauk Village. That's how close we were. We were so close that the state, Illinois Department, the Attorney General, to come over and make the board here have our hands tied and they would make the decisions for Sauk Village. That's how close we were. You talk about how close we were when it comes to our audits. Look what they did to Harvey. How many people was watching when the news what they did to Harvey, walked in there. They were getting ready to do the same thing in Sauk Village. In fact, we had already started getting our audits done. And I got a call that said, Tom Dart was looking at Sauk Village next. I picked up the phone immediately. And I said, why? We've already gotten, I think at that time, 2 of our audits completed. I said, then you tell me what I'm not doing, and what are you going to do different? So, again, just like Attorney General and the IEP, Tom Dart's office said, we're going to keep on Sauk Village. If you continue doing what you say you're going to do, we'll let you continue continue to work. But if you don't, we're gonna come in. So, we're happy that, our audits are all completed. And we're all up to date, where we're supposed to be. Think about this, I came in here 2.5 years ago, I hadn't had an audit done since 2009. It was Tom Dark wrong for saying I'm coming into Sauk Village, no, it wasn't. But I tell you what, if we wouldn't have started our audits, they would have been in here. Just like the Attorney General and the state of Illinois, they would have running Sauk Village for you. And the Board of Trustees would have had no say on what was going to happen. They would have came in and said, you got this much money, we're taking this amount of money to pay for this. Just like they did when they came in with the temporary airstrippers. State of Illinois, IEPA, Attorney General came in. One day we got a call and said there's airstrippers, temporary airstrippers sitting out here, most of them 1 and 2, does anyone know anything about it? The previous Tuesday, the village board voted to go ahead and move forward with temporary airstrippers. No one knew anything about it. Next thing you know, we're making a phone call and the Attorney General said, we're coming in, here's how much you as the village of Sauk Village are going to have to pay. When temporary airstrippers came on board, we were paying $80,000 per month, not including the additional money it costs for other departments and stuff. When I came on board, the first thing I did was say, $80,000 is too much. We want to drop that down to $55,000. We went from $80,000 to $55,000 a month for temporary strippers. We went from that to end up buying those temporary strippers so that we no longer had to pay. So that's my first thing we did coming in on board. But again, residents are sitting here, no one really knows what was happening behind the scenes. And I can be honest with you, I never want to see a mayor come in and step down. But it happened at the right time. So we had 6 months to turn things around in Sauk Village. It was a tough 6 months. I told myself coming around making tough decisions. It wasn't too well liked about them. But we made it. I'll tell you another thing happened. I got no problem saying anything about it now. Is we were working with a assisted living home project. We wanted to come in and move here right behind the community, behind the park here, where they were going to put the housing development, remember? We went off and worked with them. We put together a whole entire package why assisted living would be best here. We've got the senior center, we've got the community center, we've got the village hall, we had Walgreens, we had walking distance to the stores, we had Walgreens sitting here, we had McDonald's. At the time, we had some other restaurants, we had the Chinese restaurant. We put that whole entire package together for them. And all of a sudden, we ran into some red tape. We didn't understand what happened. Sauk Village was like, we'll make sure we're giving tax incentives to build that here. Next thing we know that we figured, see, Lewis Towers walked away by November. In October, before he walked away, the owner of the property wanted to donate it to Sauk Village. He refused to take it, and he didn't bring it to the village board. Before November, they turned around and donated it to the Forest Reserve. Now, when that became Forest Reserve property, we could no longer build on it, and everything we worked on putting together to bring that assisted living project to Sauk Village completely stopped. Now, we are completely landlocked with Forest Reserve behind our park, all the way across, and even on the other side by the animal hospital. Because they donated to the Forest Reserve, because we had someone sitting in the commission that said, I don't want that property. Anything else?
Is there any way to get it back?
We'll try. We contacted Forest Reserve commissioners. I've set meetings with, what's her name?
Freckwinkle?
No.
Which one are you talking to? I know Gary's talked to Freckwinkle.
I can see her, she's short.
Oh, I know who you're talking
I just like, but I set meetings with her office, trying to get stuff to go through, and I tell you what, to get property back from the Forest Reserve is almost impossible. They've only done it
Patricia
once or
Murphy?
twice. Murphy, yes.
Yeah.
They've only done like once or twice. You see up in Rosemont, they did some giving property back. I think they exchanged property or something. But we worked really hard. We went there, showed them the entire plan that we had, what we lost. Impossible. It's almost like I have to in Springfield for it to happen. They can take it, but you can't give it back. Anything else? Yes?
A week ago, there was a resident got up and was talking about the people that are put onto committees and was quite adamant about why there's certain people put on committees. And, you know, you've explained this weeks on end, that there is an opening, but nobody volunteers, nobody signs up to put that letter out there so that they can be assigned to a committee. How do you get the word across to people? I mean, all these committees, you have wonderful volunteers, but it never changes. These people like to complain about it. Well, gee, you know, they want to complain right and left, but you don't see them getting up and doing anything. They'll complain, but they won't volunteer. I don't know if it's they're afraid to get their hands dirty. I mean, we've got good people that get their hands dirty all the time, but they want to complain. Maybe they're not happy with the way that committee's doing it, but you don't see them doing anything, just other than complaining. How do you get people involved? Magic.
It is. We always have problems getting volunteers. And like you say, it's easy to complain, it's easy to point fingers. The individual that was here Tuesday night, you know, I think, you know, I have to really be honest, that's kind of offended in a way. I think a lot of people are. It became more a racial issue than anything.
Yes.
Again, I can't make people, you know, volunteer. All we can do is we announce it at board meetings, we make sure it's on the website, we have it on the website, we try to make sure it's on the Facebook pages, we try to make sure, you know, that we post it. You know, there's only certain things you can do. You know, someone has to volunteer. And if you look at, you know, under this administration, you know, I don't care what race you are. You know, I appointed people to committees. Because we won't need volunteers. But I mean, if you look at our volunteer, if you look at our committees, I think our committees are pretty well diverse. And I haven't looked at them lately. But you know, I'm trying to make sure we live in a diverse community. And you know, you need diversity on your committees. You need different ways of walks, different ways of talks, different ways of thinking. That's what's important. So I think that you know, when you need committee members, you know, you ask for volunteers, you get them. Once people volunteer, you fill those committees. And I don't think I've ever had an extra amount of volunteers where I had people sitting and waiting for a committee. I mostly had empty seats, looking for people to volunteer.
Would it help to put out a sheet of paper saying, these committees need volunteers, or if volunteers are needed in these areas, or maybe put it up on the website also?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
And let people know there are opportunities, you know, that people are inclined to give their time.
I just did an e-blast about 2 weeks ago that listed all of the committees and what their functions are and who they can contact if they want to participate. That was e-blasted about 2 weeks ago. But unfortunately, not everybody gets an e-blast. So one of the problems is we need to find ways of making sure that this information gets out more than just Facebook and e-blast. How do we communicate all of these things? They're said at the board meetings, they're e-blasted, they're on your Facebook page, and people still say they don't know.
But I think, okay, let's do something, whatever you e-blast, if we just get printed off and put out there.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of times I look at the committees. I mean, commissions, you know, come through the mayor's office. So I think the last one, it was Human Relations Commission, so that comes through the mayor's office. But your other committees are ran by your trustees or your committee chairs.
But people may not realize there is a need, you know, so maybe it's out there. Oh, here's something I could do.
Yeah, we should do a nice course that we volunteer. Right.
I'll reprint the e-blast and put it on in the hallway. Yeah, and I'll resend it. And if you want to put it on your page, that's fine.
Yeah. And once I see the e-blast, I'll drop it.
Sure.
Debbie, do we have anything in the hallway that shows committees that have openings?
I just said I'm going to print out the e-blast. Did you get the e-blast a couple weeks
No,
ago?
I mean something where you could.
Well, all
sign
committees
up.
always have openings, except commissions. have a strict amount of people, how many can be on there. But all committees always have openings, and I stated that in my e-blast. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to reprint it and put it in the hallway. Because it's not getting communicated just by e-blast, because there's only a little over 200 people that are signed up for e-blast.
Yeah, you
So,
can tell on garbage day,
what's that?
because when you send out an
Oh,
e-blast
how
saying
many
that
people
it'll be a
still
day
put their
late.
garbage out?
I counted 13 on my blog.
Well, we need to encourage people to sign up for e-blast. But I will print that, put it in the hallway so people are aware of it.
There's people sometimes, they don't want to join the committee, they still want to volunteer.
And that's, a volunteer is just as important. I mean, they don't have to come to the meetings, but when you have an event like your
Right.
craft show or your Easter egg hunt, they can volunteer.
Right.
I'll look at that and make sure it's very clearly stated that you don't have to join the committee, but volunteers are always appreciated.
Well, we're about 10 minutes early. Anyone else have anything else? No, I'll let you go. Enjoy your things. Enjoy your Valentine's Day. You guys want to get those cupcakes? So we'll go out in the hallway. And we've got some cupcakes for everyone. And every lady here gets your little party candy.
I can't go
Make sure.
cupcakes
That's a happy Valentine's Day from the mayor. Sorry, guys.
from the mayor's
I'm going to
wife.
give it to your Snickers.
From the mayor's wife, I bet.
Yeah. No, the cupcakes.
Candy's from you. Cupcakes
Oh, sorry.
from Linda.
Did you go? I need one more. All right, thank you very much. Once again, have a happy
You gotta give me
Valentine's Day.
credit. I like your cupcakes.